Senator Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Blinken, I share your relief that the National Security Supplemental Appropriations Bill that provides aid to Ukraine, Israel, and our allies in the Indo-Pacific region is finally law. Unfortunately, this is not the first time since Russia's invasion of Ukraine that Ukraine has had to wait for vital security assistance from the United States. On numerous occasions, President Biden's administration has blocked transfer of weapons and equipment to Ukraine until sufficient pressure from Congress and our NATO allies led to a change in course. In some cases, after the point in the war when those weapons would have made the most difference. For example, the Ukrainians requested Abrams tanks in early 2022. The administration did not approve that transfer until January of 2023, and the first tanks didn't arrive in Ukraine until October of last year. Long-range attack missiles are another critical capacity that was requested early in 2022. It took more than 18 months for the administration to approve a shorter range version of ATACMS, and the longer range version was approved only last month, nearly 2 years after the request. F-16s are another example. My point is, had the administration acted when Ukraine first requested these weapon systems, Ukraine would have been able to benefit sooner from the technological advantage these weapon systems provide. What I am seeking from you is a commitment to speed up the delivery of weapons, of munitions, of other technology at this very critical time during Ukraine's war with the aggressor, Russia.
Thank you, Senator. First, I can assure you that we are doing everything we can to accelerate the actual delivery of the assistance to the Ukrainians so that they have it in their hands and can use it to deal with the ongoing Russian aggression. Second, look, I have a different perspective on this than the one you just shared. Of course, the fact that well before the Russian aggression, President Biden made sure in presidential drawdowns in the fall before the aggression, Christmas before the aggression, that the Ukrainians had Stingers, javelins, and other things in their hands. We did it quietly. We did it effectively. They were able to prevent the takeover of Kyiv and push back the Russian aggression. Every single step along the way, we have worked to get them what they need when they need it. But as you know, it's not just the weapon systems that count. You've got to make sure that people are trained on them, because if they're not trained on them, it doesn't do you any good to have an Abrams tank if you can't drive it. If you can't maintain it, which is particularly complicated with some of this technology, again, it doesn't do you much good to have it. So I think the way that the Department of Defense, for example, has looked at this is to make sure that if we are providing things, we do it in a comprehensive way so that it's actually usable and sustainable, because, again, otherwise it's not going to do you much good. And certainly that was the case with the Abrams tanks. F-16s, there are no pilots to actually fly them, so we're training, others are training the pilots. So all of these things do have a timeline to them. You're right, but I think it's not simply a matter of providing the tank or the plane or the missile. It's making sure that the entire infrastructure is there, from the ability to use them, the ability to maintain them, and then, of course, to have a concrete plan to make sure they're used effectively.
Well, from my perspective, there's been slow walking of certain weapons and munitions, which I hope we can overcome. I want to switch to a different issue, and that is that just yesterday, the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction released a report that found that since August of 2021, at least $10.9 million in U.S. taxpayer dollars has been provided to the Taliban-controlled government by 38 implementing partners of the Department of Defense, USAID, and the U.S. Agency for Global Media. How does the department explain the Inspector General's assertion that U.S. assistance is going to the Taliban through taxes, fees, and duties?
Yeah. Well, two things, Senator. First, I haven't seen the report, but I promise you I'll look at it promptly. We're engaged with the Inspector General on this on a daily basis. We're responding to inquiries. We have, I think, dedicated something like 13,000 staff hours since we left Afghanistan to working with the Inspector General's office, and we're committed to doing that. I want to make sure that we're responsive in real time. So I'll look at this as soon as possible. Are there, fees, taxes, and things that get collected by the Taliban? That sounds, unfortunately, logical. And maybe there is in this case, I don't know, I don't want to speak to it not having seen the report. Maybe there is, unfortunately, a cost of doing business by some of these organizations that are trying to provide desperately needed assistance to people in Afghanistan.
I hope you will get back to me on that. Finally, Mr. Secretary, illegal marijuana grows in Maine and elsewhere pose a significant national security and public health risk. According to the Drug Enforcement Administration's 2024 assessment, there's been a notable uptick in the number of illicit marijuana cultivation sites linked to Chinese and other Asian organized crime groups. That includes my state of Maine, where between 100 and 200 sites have been identified. Mr. Secretary, are these Chinese criminal syndicates operating these illegal marijuana grows in our country with the knowledge and consent of the government of China?
Yeah. Senator, first of all, let me defer to DEA on this because they have the expertise about what's going on in the United States, but I would welcome working with you on this. Dealing with countering narcotics is a big part of our engagement with China. We're, of course, very focused on synthetic opioids, fentanyl, but any drug that poses a problem and is threatening our communities is something that we're deeply concerned with. So I'd welcome following up with you on this.
Thank you.
Thanks.